we're finally here. The finale. The finale of a game is your final chance to leave an impression, and when it's mishandled, it can change a game's entire reputation for the worse. And I mean, really worse. The opposite can also happen to a really good ending, which can propel a really good game to an absolute masterpiece. It's just that humans are programmed to, like, remember negative experiences better than positive ones, you know? Who knew that a brain pattern meant to make us sure another member of our tribe wasn't eaten by a lion would, a million years down the line, make us hate Mass Effect 3. So, how does Infinite Wealth choose to handle its finale? Short answer, spectacular. Long answer, the end of this review series that has been in production for over 5 months. So far too late to abort this now. Let's get it started. To get the end started, or it sounds confusing, but get with it, we have a meeting with him. I'll go all in on him when the time is right, but just so you know, I'm counting down the seconds until I can unleash the bladder in my quivering heart. Just you wait, you waste of skin. What we see is a kidnapped Joe Sawashiro, beaten and battered. Our villain gets in some extra hate for the Yakuza, then burns down the room, starting with the curtains. Then we get a news report about how a bunch of social media dudes exposed Taichi Suzuki as Kazuma Kiryu? Who could have guessed the two were related? Well, that means all eyes on Kiryu heading into Chapter 14. Well, Ichiban team ends where he started, the homeless camp. It's being temporarily used as a planning base to set up an attack on 2 fronts. Alright, cut to the presentation on the sides we will have to attack on. Alright, so, Bryce in Hawaii. Basically, he's shipping people to his island of exploitation, Nele Island. Basically, he sends a bunch of people there, even children, to be exploited and harvested, inducted into a murderous cult, all meant to make him money. He then sends some of them back out into society as high-ranking officials to develop the conspiracy even more. He's also doing pollution, making products that harm the seas he claims to protect. So, he's gonna be trying to put radiation and microplastics in your balls, basically. He's killing a bunch of people, both directly and indirectly, for his own selfish gain. And don't even get me started on the little girl he tried to kidnap and send to his private island. He should really collab with, you know, if I finish that joke, I won't be safe in my own home. Bye. Anyway, he isn't even the rightful owner of the Polycon organization. The cult he's running. It's Lonnie. That's the correct leader of this organization. So he tried to kill this little girl on his private island. Ichiban and his crew messed him up earlier, but we gotta bring it to him over that. Alright, let's get him! What? Masataka Ebina in Japan. He's been taking advantage of ex-Yakuza members and is about to ship a bunch of them over to Nele Island to shovel radioactive waste forever as basically slaves. He's basically Bryce's second hand in command. But newsflash, he's only the second hand. So that means Bryce isn't getting off. He's out for both Kiryu and Ichiban's heads. So we gotta dash over there and crash that puckered face pinstripes party. Alright, now that we got our bases covered, let's launch the assault on Bryce on Ichiban's side and then go over to Kazuma Kiryu. May the assault on Bryce begin! You're given one last chance to explore Hawaii in full. This part feels so serene. Your final hours in this area, so much stuff to do, but so little time. Make sure you do everything you want before leaving. Make all the preparations you need to. Spend all the time you need to. Enjoy your time before the big transition if you want to. If you want to embrace the future, you can. But just be knowledgeable about the big leap you're making on the ship. So, just take one final deep breath in. One last deep breath out. Because this one is a big one. So, Yamai lets us take his little boat to Nele Island. Seems simple enough. A giant shark lands on board our ship, and we need to get this tyrant of the ocean off our boat now. Yeah, Bryce is so desperate to hide his base that he owns a pet, a shark. No. Since this thing takes up half the boat, we gotta fight this thing like a normal RPG boss. I would like to start this by saying being able to samurai slice a giant shark while epic orchestral music plays in the background alone is a good enough argument for this winning game of the year. Probably the win is going to call the Black Slop 6. But anyway, back to the boss. Accuracy sure isn't gonna be a problem here, but what it makes up for it with is being one of the heaviest tanks in the game. It's gonna be a long one, which is why I stocked up as much as possible, because I knew that there was going to be one big barricade between me and Bryce. But we beat this shark back into the ocean and make it back onto the island. Ichiban, Nanba, and Adachi switch back into their outfits from Japan because it's time to lock in. Now it's time, Ichiban's final dungeon. After getting attacked by Polycon minions, we get into a literal minefield. I'd like to pause here and say that I love that Jungi is the one to hypothesize that this is a minefield, because that's something he would have done. Nice touch there, RGG. Again, infinite wealth. Peak again. Now unpause. We wander into an underground cave with lots of wood and steel beams. You know, something that jet fuel can't really melt that well. Now, the more attentive players will realize this kind of looks like the dungeon that came first. What a way to come full circle. It's been like 50 hours in game and over 2 hours in this review. Now it's about to be over and you can all move on soon. Well, once we finish that segment up, we leave the cave and find Wanto's son. It's no big deal, just something the game hyped up all the way back in Chapter 7 as it's some big deal. Just kind of done. What kind of half-committal blue balls behavior is this? At least make some long battle where we must chase his captor down and there's some big speech about grieving his dad. But no, it just feels written out of obligation, like just another reason to throw onto the pile to not like Bryce. What else is there to say about nothing? Nothing. That's what. Now that we just covered the most boring part of the story, let's balance that out with the penultimate boss of Ichiban's story. Now, unleash the Kraken. Yes, there is a giant fight between you and a squid where one of the parts is you getting swallowed by this. Is this the god that this cult was built to worship, or at least the facade of Bryce Fairchild. Now this is one of my favorite bosses in the entire game. Yes, up there with the Dwight and Threejima fight. The concept is insane, but it works. It just works. This fight feels as massive and girthy as it should be. Multiple parts and tentacles to attack, big damage numbers, swallowing party members, and its insides are also a boss, and having boss music that just feels so grand. It feels important. Like this is not just a Guardian mini boss. It's gonna be peak gaming. It's the natural conclusion of this franchise's absolute bonkers craziness. It makes perfect sense in a Yakuza game. It feels shocking, but totally something you would reasonably expect to find in a Yakuza game, given some of the side quests and plot lines in previous games. Imagine going up to somebody on the street and telling them the multi-game spanning quest line about young adult baby diaper lovers is by far not the weirdest thing in the Yakuza franchise. You'd probably get a restraining order though, but that's beside the point. It was mildly foreshadowed, however, in the trailer that you were gonna fight a shark, so let's throw a squid. Why not? May I mention that this arena is absolutely gorgeous. The glistening water, the rocks illuminated by the lights, make a beautiful sight to spend a while fighting him. Or is it her? I'm not gonna check, because I don't care if I misgender a squid from a video game. What do you think I am? Some guy who would make an over 2-hour video essay series about a game people have already stopped talking about? Please find help. Now that we've defeated the squid, it's time to head final boss. But before that, here are a few things. First, like and subscribe. I've been yapping at you since June about this game, so if you could just be a good Samaritan and just like and subscribe, that'd be awesome. Second thing, this is gonna be a while, so grab a drink or go to the bathroom. No, wait, you know, I'm a patient man. I spent like 4 months on this, man. Third thing, look at the funny monkey on screen. Ooh.
I'm the sous chef here. With any luck, I should be head chef by next year. I've got this amazing fiance, who I won't be marrying this weekend, because I'm about to be in a terrible accident. But really, I should have cleaned up the grease over there, and they should never put the deep fryer so close.
Well, let's hop into the final boss. We pass to the boss door, and here Bryce is, sticking to his cult ideology and revealing that he had been Polychana's sage for over 70 years. Over the course of his little speech, it becomes very obvious what Bryce is supposed to be. It should be crystal clear to any longtime RPG player what Bryce is supposed to represent, given the genre and how Ichiban thinks of his enemies as RPG characters. If you don't know, it's a very common trope in turn-based RPGs to have basically a god is the final boss. One of the reasons is that in RPGs, your goal is to get stronger, and that is shown by fighting progressively stronger and stronger enemies. One could reason the best way to cap this progression off at the final boss is for you to fight God. the end. Also, the nearly 2-hour-long yapping session on screen, there's a bunch of cultural reasons to do that in these games, but it's too complicated to explain it here. When fighting a god final boss, they usually take on one of 3 forms. 1, the general idea of a god. This is the most common one, just the general traits of your average god. It creates important stuff, is super powerful, and is very self-important. An example of this being done is like Ultima or Kafka from Final Fantasy. 2, specific gods from specific cultures. This is the easiest route. Just a good copy and paste way to have a big challenge at the end of a JRPG. Sometimes it really is a copy and paste. Let your heroes kick them in the nuts for an hour, then you're done, like in Persona 4. But some RPGs do this differently, to my knowledge. For example, the series that Persona is based on, Shin Megami Tensei. In Shin Megami Tensei, there's always a large cast of characters based on mythology and religion, and usually you'll come into conflict with God or one of his galactic secretaries. 3, false gods. This applies to games such as Persona 5 and its many spin-offs. This false god being a metaphor for society and all its lies and corruption. Another example of the false god trope is bingo. Back to Bryce, baby. Now, what is the basis for the claim that he is supposed to represent RPG god characters, final bosses, you know? Well, in the last game, its final boss was supposed to represent an RPG final boss trope. That time, it was a dragon. It's supposed to fit in with these games being parodies of RPGs and porting their tropes into a real-world setting to create the weirdest urban fantasy you'll ever see, hands down. The way they adapted this trope into the real world by making him the head of a world conspiracy cult, controlling the world because of a lie like some false god. Bryce is a cruel man commanding absolute loyalty from his followers. Then there's Ichiban. Instead of being some sort of boss, he's a leader. He's leading the charge with his party. When they don't entirely side with him, it's no big deal. Each party member is their own person. That's why Ichiban doesn't have much more power than his party members, even in a gameplay sense. He doesn't have a wild card or Minato or any special birthmark. He isn't better than everyone, and he treats himself as such. So, we've set it up. Bryce, the ultimate narcissist boss, versus Ichiban Kasuga, the ultimate leader. Let's go! Alright, so, the fight begins. Ichiban Kasuga takes charge and launches towards Bryce, but is held back by his goons because Bryce knows he can't fight. This fight is basically the Munakata fight from Yakuza 4, but in RPG form. But man, that is underselling how utterly amazing the Bryce boss is. He's constantly whipping out guys, different movesets and skills, testing you against every type of enemy up until this point, the ultimate endurance test. All of this is set to some of the most banging music you will ever hear from a video game. Just check this out, bro. Just check it out. work your way through his seemingly endless amount of NPCs and gooners. All of this builds up to the final phase. Bryce by himself, instead of being able to fight, he just uses 2 Uzis, I think, and grenades, calling them holy indictments and holy flames. The team eventually bodies this dude, knocks the gun out of his hands, and when he tries to come back with a sword, kick him in the teeth again, and he is down and out. It's all over now. He's been defeated. The menace that loomed over Hawaii with his shadowy hand has now been beaten down. Then Chitose fires upstream, revealing herself as Tatara to the masses. The identity that she used in order to falsely incriminate Ichiban has now been used to take down genuine, actual evil. What an amazing way to tie up this game's themes of redemption. Truly, what would be better, honestly? This ties the whole game circle, showing that she has actually changed as a person, growing from becoming friends with Ichiban, learning to trust other people. She does kind of snitch on Ichiban after her heel turn to the party side, but that's how people work. Once somebody pledges to stop doing a behavior, they usually slip up from time to time. Everybody messes up on their way to change. Everyone on a weight loss journey has given in to a donut or two, you know? But the effort is what counts. That is what Infinite Wealth has decided to say. Forgive others, but be sparing with who you forgive. A hand wasn't extended to Dwight and Bryce because they're de facto awful and don't need to be welcomed back into proper, polite society. Sorry, there is no, guys, he said he's sorry in this one. That's honestly about how stories about forgiveness should be handled. But back to the story, Bryce tries escaping this situation by jumping into the water, but we make him live to see him face his crimes and get the coolest line in the entire series, in my opinion.
You're not getting the last laugh! If you think you're going out in style, you've got another thing coming! Enjoy your flight, asshole!
What a legendary way to end Ichiban's story. It's over. What a beautiful way to end the game. Oh wait! It's not over! Now we have to talk about Kiryu's half of the ending. This means we have to talk about him. In alchemy, the law of equivalent exchange is always true. Sadly, it's true here. Go get a drink or snack, use the bathroom, put a cat in a deep fryer, anything really. Let's go to the intermission. 3, 2, 1, go.
Was it a dream? We were Was it a dream we made about beneath the pale moonlight? I never knew, I never thought such bliss as this could fill me with a love divine. I'm afraid I'll wake and find it was only in my mind. Was it a dream? Are you really mine?
Alright, here's the end. The segment of you getting to explore before the Millennium Tower was one of the best parts of the Kiryu ending. It's a serene beauty. Getting to wander around the usual Kamurocho stomping grounds one last time before you are carried off to what will be the last battle of your entire life. I chose to finish most of the bucket list before going, but once you do, you can never go back. Alright, let's trudge into Infinite Wealth Sending. So, for one last time, Kiryu tries to go in alone. Right when he hesitates on his character arc of learning to trust people, everyone is here for him. We beat the enemies down and we enter the building. The enemies are quite easy to a fault. This is supposed to be the final challenge, and you can just blow through it. It makes the big threat of the Sidhu clan feel empty. The entire game has built up to us just bullying a child for his lunch money. I get why this was done though, as Kazuma Kiryu's last outing. They wanted to give you some sort of power trip. But here's the thing. The horde of easy enemies doesn't feel all that cool in turn-based RPGs in comparison to an action game. When you're massacring enemies in an action game, it feels like you're mowing down enemies one after another in this really fast gameplay style. It looks really cool, but this is not the same in turn-based RPGs. In JRPGs, you're not constantly throwing hands in real time. Instead, you're making repeated selections from menus, making for a genre that does not mesh at all with this type of massacre power trip moment that they probably wanted. But here is a good fix against this slight against game design itself. They could have made it so that these enemies are super strong when you try to fight them in turn-based combat. But here's the twist. The ability to switch up action combat is always available just in this dungeon alone. We still get the ability to challenge ourselves as players, but get the option to have the authentic power trip feeling. This also could work lore-wise because Kazuma Kiryu knows his action combat more than this newfangled turn-based RPG stuff all the kids are into. What am I saying? The kids wouldn't be into this sort of game. It requires too much of an attention span. I don't know. What do you think about this change? Comment below your opinion. I'd be so glad to see it, bro. Do you like the changes I made in this hypothetical remake? Would you make a different change? If you like the difficulty of the dungeon the way it is, explain why it should have been that way. But then we get to, by far, the highlight of the Kiryu finale. The part everyone loved the most, including me. The part where the big Yakuza 3 join in to help you take down the Saryu clan. It's such a hype moment, bro. After all the arguments, the gang is back, and the boys are back in town. It's some really cool fan service for the people who haven't started with the RPGs. We are back. We're back. We're so back! Preying on somebody's downfall. The ultimate way to unite humanity. Let's get 'em!
Down your spine. Ooh, you're trying to ignore. Yeah, but you can hardly swallow your fears and pain when you can't help but follow and put you right back where you came.
What a good scene, but that means we are so close to the final boss. One last chance to relax, save, and restore health. Some final things I have to say is that one of the rooms before the final boss looks gorgeous with its little spiral lights. I'd just say Lame Tower looks beautiful as usual. One last thing, make sure you have Shunhei on your team going into this. She's an absolutely just crack physical damage dealer, as I have described in the job ranking part of this review. Now, let's get started on the final boss. Ready? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Let's go. Alright, so here begins the cutscene where I can finally go off about Masata Kabuna. Alright, one of the first reveals is the motive for his goal of taking down all Yakuza. Mostly torturing ex-Yakuza who pledged to leave. I'm gonna stop you right there. Now let me get this straight. His villain motivation is only explained right before the final boss? It's not even implied or can be intuited. So we don't even know why he's doing all this for most of the game. Oh, and I promise you this gets even more stupid. But wait, there's more. His motive for all this was his mom got killed by the Yakuza. This is mother. So let me get this straight. Your goal was to end the Yakuza because your mom got killed. Alright, makes sense. So you went after people who said that they were leaving the Yakuza and then partnered up with the actual group members. I'm gonna have a brain aneurysm. Doesn't this contradict his entire goal? If he wanted to follow through on his motive, then wouldn't he become, like, a cop? Listen, I can tolerate a villain with non-justifiable motives. I'm not saying his motive needs to be justifiable. That's part of being an outright pure evil villain. I can't rock with a villain whose motives, goals, and actions do not align at all. To end the Ebina rant, let's talk about the game trying to switch lanes last minute to this laughing and screaming psychopath with his little laugh he's got going on. Make up your mind game. Is he a mastermind or some sort of psycho killer? I just can't take Masataka Ebino that seriously. He feels like a whining, spoiled, petulant child I have to deal with, distracting me from all the cool stuff I could be doing, rather than a worthy threat, let alone the final villain for Kazuma Kiryu. In conclusion, in all my years of playing video games, Masataka Ebina must be one of the worst, if not the worst, villain I've had to go up against. During his little monologue, I literally fell asleep, bro. It was that boring. Let's just get this over with and talk about the boss battle. Masataka Ebina, the captain of the Seiryu clan. Alright, to start this fight, he doesn't really have a remarkable moveset in the first half, just a bunch of kicks and punches from what I remember. So when I first played this game, the first thing I did in the fight was use the Yuki and Koi Yuki summon on him, which immediately deflated any of what was left of a serious tone. I just kind of swept through phase 1 with Essence of Dragon God, the summon I just described, and Shunhi. Jump to phase 2 and he wields a katana. If you're watching this and you haven't heard of the rest of the Yakuza games, this is the only final boss to use one in his final fight. Yes, you heard me right. The Yakuza series only has one final boss that uses a katana in their final fight. But with the complication of this being the least remarkable villain in the franchise and having to share a spot with Bryce, at least it's finally done, but it'll probably be used as an excuse to never do it again since it has been done. But the fight hasn't improved that much outside of this novelty. Nothing much to note here, but one last thing. He has a banger of a final boss theme. Alright, I'll let you listen to it. So, we finally put an end to all this. The end of all this denial. And with one final hit, he goes down. Finally, we don't have to deal with this disgrace to the human race by putting him in his place, punching him in the face. So, he's been defeated, and he just begs to die here and now, because he'll just keep coming back if he isn't killed right now. Delivering this speech, that's a high-key jab at the franchise's tendency to say, "It ends here, bro," but never actually committing. It's been Kiryu's final game for 3 games in a row now. So, sorry to say it, but Ebina kind of cooked here.
He's out of line, but he's right.
In response, Kiryu gives a desperate sorry for all the struggle the Yakuza caused for both men. An absolute guttural speech from deep within Kazuma Kiryu's heart. It's been a long road, and these two both faced a brutal onslaught of Yakuza. They both let it out one last time before Kiryu drops down and passes out. We cut back to Ichiban, who helps out Eiji Mitamura. Even though he had betrayed the whole team, Ichiban gives him a second chance. He'll carry Eiji to the police station to face his time, then try again at life, just like Ichiban, starting the cycle anew, a rebirth. The ability to rise up the waterfall again, like a dragon, allowing him to gain what he wants, rising through the hard work, finding infinite wealth. The credits roll with a song encapsulating the game's themes playing as Kazuma Kiryu is saved and Ichiban Kasuga takes Eiji to the police station while taking a hefty beating. After the credits, we see the main characters chilling out at Revolve Bar, discussing their plans moving forwards in life. It was a long ride, and they want to face the future with help from the past, addressing the fact that Hawaii isn't a perfect place and taking steps to fix that. Ichiban tries to confess his love to Psycho one last time, but takes off his shirt and makes it really weird by having the shirt underneath that says I love Psycho on one side and I love Ichiban on the other. The final scene in the game shows Haruka coming to the hospital with Haruto. Kiryu isn't able to be seen. We see him being taken care of by a doctor, where he finally reclaims the name Kazuma Kiryu. Then we fade to black and leave behind the story of Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. Rest in peace, Kazuma Kiryu. You will be forever missed. You amazing, amazing man. So, that's been Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. Now, it's time for my overall thoughts on the game and the final score for the final chapter in the game overall. This chapter gets a 7 out of 10. It's a balanced score. That means I really hate one aspect but love another. So it's fair for it to receive this score, pitting Bryce against Masataka Ebina and all. So, racking the total score of every chapter, then dividing them by the number of chapters gives us a score of 8 out of 10! That's a respectable score to give this story. This game has some atrociously low lows, but some really amazing high highs. With Infinite Wealth's worst moments, I kind of believe they have a common theme of disappointment. There is so much cool stuff that they could have done with Wang To. As I described earlier in the series, Ebina had a lot to live up to as Kiryu's final obstacle, but did not deliver on any of his ideas. But that's Infinite Wealth's worst part. Let's talk about the stuff I liked about the game. I love this game's OST. Some of the standouts are Bakataro, Summertime Groove, The End of Denial, Impersonation, Value and Here's in Life, Navish, Brutality, Rebuild, Kooky, Impregnable Triangle, and the best song in the game, Barracuda, really lives up to being the biggest Yakuza game of all time with a wide-reaching story and tons of side content. So, in those two ways, this game really triples down on what makes Yakuza great in a way. I really hope this game sheds any ties to the Kiryu saga in the next game, exploring its own plot with Ichiban Kasuga. A game dedicated to Kiryu's death could probably be some sort of spin-off, and Yakuza 9 can be its own original stories. I'd really come to retroactively hate this entry if Kiryu lives in the next game. And I just betray the whole Kiryu stuff. But if they don't bring him back, then this game is an amazing exploration of death from the POV of the dead person. It's true. It's art. I loved this game's combat. My favorite out of the entire series, actually, combat-wise. It improved so much from 7. When a dev team really knuckles down, they can make something truly special. Good gameplay is what these massive budgets should be going to. They shouldn't be always going to ray tracing and always getting better graphics. Games didn't really need to look more high fidelity than whatever was going on with the Yakuza 7. Through all the controversy and rough decisions, this is an amazing game that you should go check out. Even though I spoiled it for you so thoroughly, at least you get to experience like a second viewing of the story in some sort of Alfred Hitchcockian way. And you get to experience this game's wonderful gameplay. Even if you aren't an RPG guy, just do it! I'd recommend waiting for a sale, however, because even though I love this game like my own son, it shouldn't have to cost $70. But thank you for sticking by so far. I'm truly grateful for you. So, about the channel in general now. This is my first time fully going into media analysis content. I used to be a real big politics guy, but I mainly want to abandon that. Only coming back to political themes when the media analysis job calls for it, okay? Politics sucked my soul dry, dude. I want to make the content I want to make. I don't want to participate in this ruthless game. I don't want to be in their clique. Have you seen the people in this clique? Alright, have you heard of the Vosh files? I don't want to be some controlled puppet playing and dancing for the people that would love to see me dead and gone just for a new headline and another data point to a false narrative. By casting off my chains, I make myself my own man. I loved making the series. I want to continue to talk about the things I want. This is YouTube, not Millionaire Tube. I want redemption and a new beginning. Besides, one of the protagonists we've been following was a dude who left a crooked organization and started all the way back from level 1. And the other protagonist ended this game by leaving an organization so he can truly be with what he loves. So I'll take a page from Ichiban and have the will to start over again as a media analysis YouTuber. I'm gonna make it big. Nothing and nobody will stop me. I want to share my expression, my own voice with the world. I want to make my positive, permanent impact on the world, analyzing media while making you laugh. It's been over a year of uploading. Thank you for being on this ride with me. Even if you only started now, arigato gozaimashita. Or in English, thank you very much. So, what do you say? Ready to start from the bottom with me? If you watched this far in, the answer is most definitely yes. It's gonna be a slow grind. But in 10 years in this joint, I know that I'll have at least 1 million subscribers, about the population of Delaware. But hey, there's nothing wrong with being on the bottom. Hey, that's probably something Goro Majima can tell you a lot about. If you know, you know. This has been the comedic overanalysis of Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. Trickster source of guidance, Inabe Hair, signing off. I hope to see you all again someday. Good night, viewer.
幸せでも